Security ranks, a topic that has intrigued countless. And we're going to talk about it here at Everything Else Channel on YouTube, where we talk about everything else. EverythingElseChannel.com, coming soon. If at any point during this video you like it, smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a single video. Share the video. Copy the URL. Paste it wherever you like. And leave a comment down below. So, mall security, retail security, loss prevention, plain clothes. The world of private security is a fun and exciting way to make a living, and a lot of people are intrigued by the guards. As they say, a lot of women and a lot of men like folks in uniform. Whether they're wearing a Stetson, which is a cowboy hat, shorts, long pants, long sleeves, short sleeves, got aviators on. Security officers command respect wherever they go. That's a fact. But now we're going to talk about security ranks. And we're going to start at the bottom of the barrel. When you got no stripes, you got no bars, you got nothing but a security uniform and the future at your doorstep. So, you can start out as a security guard or a security officer. Now, I come from South Florida. That's where I did security a couple of years in junior college. And the reason I chose security is because it allowed me to study. It allowed me to not really break a sweat. Nothing wrong with breaking a sweat, but you don't want to break a sweat in 95-degree weather with the humidity you got in Florida when you can be doing a choice post residential security in a gatehouse with a microwave, refrigerator, AC you can control, working with good people. It's classy work. Now, you can start there, or you can do mall security, working with pickpockets, shoplifters, bums, vagrants, and the like. You can also do factory security, warehouse security. You can do special events, working with, drunks, bums, folks with narcissistic complexes, Napoleon complexes, just looking to pick a fight because it's cloudy outside. You can do all sorts of security. You can work loss prevention, where you got to chase down a shoplifter who may try to stab you. All sorts of things. Loss prevention is just really, really dirty work. Not that the work is dirty, but the situations that you might be presented with are going to make you want to wash your hands so many times that maybe the skin falls off and you're still not clean. Like when you see parents putting their kids up to stealing, and you're just left with, what kind of a world do we live in? Especially when the parents have plenty of money and just do it for the thrill. But they don't do it themselves. They have their kids do it. Makes you just question everything about society. There's parts of this video that are humorous, but there's also parts of this video like this, which are not meant to be humorous, which are meant to really ask the question, what is wrong with some people? Now, residential security is the creme de la creme. It is the best, especially when it comes to holidays like Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, because you get presents. You develop relationships with residents, and they see you as the eyes and ears of their community. You're doing your job, and the better you do it, the more they'll appreciate you. They'll remember your birthday. Maybe you're graduating from school. Maybe you're unfortunately going through a life crisis. You've lost a loved one. A card can go a long way. The people that you work with, them showing you that support is huge. And you don't really see that so much when you're working a warehouse or a public event, or much less loss prevention at a store. But you might see it in mall security a lot of times. Shop owners, regular customers, your fellow employees, because you're working with janitorial, you're working with shop operators, restaurant operators, you're working with third-party merchants, you're working with fellow officers, you're working with a lot of people that you see on a daily basis, and they may take an interest in your life if you do a really good job and you're a people person. You've got to be a people person in security, and that doesn't mean that you have to be liked by everyone, but you have to at least be respected And they need to know that you're there doing a job, and they need to know that you're always watching. That's a huge part of security. There's a lot of similarities between police work and security work in that I've never been a police officer, but a lot of it is observing and reporting. It isn't, being the hero. It isn't stopping the crime necessarily. It's observing and reporting. And you're not law enforcement, but within the post that you're assigned to, you have qualities of law enforcement, which are observing and reporting. And you don't always want to call law enforcement because they will eventually stop coming. Like initially, they'll stop coming as quickly, and maybe then they'll just stop coming, especially if you can't manage your post. So again, it's one of those things. And security ranks are important because you've got companies that may not only have a dozen or 2 dozen officers, they may have 100 or 200 or 1,000 or more. And they're not interested in the post level issues, HR level issues at the post level, unless it's something that could get them sued, for example. They don't care about who's going to get to work on a Saturday and who's going to get Friday off and who's got to work third shift. I mean, these are things that the post captain usually would have to respond to. The post captain is the highest ranking officer at a post, and the post captain is the person that you would see over a mall security detachment or a residential security detachment. And they have to be able to manage. Their job is not just to observe and report, but it's also to manage anywhere from 5 to 20 guards. And they need to be able to do that effectively, because the same way that you don't want to rely on law enforcement to come and bail you out of every situation, a post captain should not be calling the higher ups, whether rank wise or the main office, to bail them out because they don't know how to deal with a post situation. And so that's where you see a lot of post captains just not cutting the mustard and getting replaced. So a security officer usually, well, it depends on the company. You can start out as a security officer or a security guard. Old school vernacular, a security guard. Security officer denotes a lieutenant and up. That's what an officer is. So, but in any event, I started out as a security officer. The first rank there is just your basic uniform, or if you're not uniform, plain clothes. But I would say 80%, 90% of guards, whether armed or not armed, and that's a whole other realm, will start out with nothing on their sleeve or nothing on their collar. Then you've got corporal. Much like military or police, corporal is the first NCO, non-commissioned officer, but in security world, corporal will manage maybe a shift. Maybe they will manage a part of a property. Their job is to basically manage 2 or 3 guards type situation. Then you have a sergeant, again, similar to a corporal, but they might manage a section instead of maybe like for example, if you're doing roving security, a corporal might have like 2 clicks. A sergeant might have 4. So in other words, 4 different spots as opposed to 2. Then you move up to lieutenant. A lieutenant usually is going to be second in command at a post, right below the post captain. And the lieutenant will obviously be like the vice captain, if you want to think of it that way. The captain's not around. The lieutenant oversees the sergeant and corporal, who then in turn oversee sections of a property. The post captain usually is the person that's in charge of an entire post. And a post captain could be in charge of anywhere between 1 to 2 lieutenants, a sergeant or 2, a corporal or 2, generally at least 10 guards, upwards to 30. Post captain is a very, very important position. It's very political because, again, it's not just about what the company wants. In fact, it's really not about what the company wants. Sometimes they've got to put a post captain in there that they maybe don't like, but that the property owner likes, and that the residents like, or the shoppers like, somebody that gets the job done. Now, after post captain, you hit the rank of major. The major will usually oversee anywhere between 6 to 2 dozen post captains. Now you're talking more main office type, but the major doesn't really, and now this has been my experience with the 2 companies I worked with 20 years ago. It may be different for you, and I invite you to leave comments down below if your rank structure is different. But a major could actually make, right now we're in 2023, here in Kentucky, a major could make $60,000 a year. I mean, it's good money, but you're also, in a position where you could lose your job very quickly because you're overseeing post captains, and post captains are thus overseeing 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 sometimes guards, managing all the HR, managing all the scheduling, managing all the overtime. Again, remember, security is a business. Unlike law enforcement, military, it's a business. So you have got to be sure that you're not costing the company too much money, because if the company's not making a good profit, they may or may not stay at that post, because then what's going to happen is those additional costs are going to then drop on the property owner or the account holder. And if they can't meet the increased price, something's got to go, because the company's not going to lose out. They may have to shrink the number of guards, meaning you may or may not get relocated. Most security is not union. So if you lose your job at the post, you may not get reassigned. So it's just one of those things. So the major's got to oversee the post captains. Then above the major, you have a lieutenant colonel. This really sounds kind of absurd for security to go up that high in rank. But again, if there's that many officers and that many posts and that much territory, geographically speaking, you need to have higher positioned officers that are going to be able to, answer to the call, have the training. These guys are always getting training. They usually, majors and up, have a company car. Usually it's an SUV of some sort, or a van or something big, because again, they're also traveling with a lot of hard files, a lot of resources. They may also have office supplies for the posts. They may have spare uniforms. They may have accessories, anywhere from radios to radio chargers. Some posts may have non-lethal type things that they may have there. Handcuffs, if we're talking about commercial mall security, loss prevention, just any number of things. So they need a lot of space. I've also seen some officers have pickup trucks with a covered back for the bed. So it really just depends. But not so much there. I've also seen more of the SUVs than the pickup trucks and the vans as well, because they may also transport relief staff to certain posts that may have special clearances where you can't just send a new officer to cover a shift. The major may need to transport the officer because the major's vehicle may have been cleared for that property, whereas this officer that's only going to work a day may have not been. And so you can't send an officer that can't get into the property. Lieutenant colonels are not going to be riding around. They're going to usually deal only with majors and post captains. And if they're dealing with a post captain, it's probably not a good thing. Then you've got colonels. Now, I've worked for a couple of companies that actually have colonels. Now, these guys, again, company vehicle, probably not carrying as much supplies as a major or a lieutenant colonel. The colonels are going to go if it's a real kind of a bad situation, I would think. Maybe they're going to go pin a medal or something. And some security companies have medals. And mind you, it's not just the medal, but the medal comes with a pay upgrade, a benefits package, some sort of incentive. It's not just the medal. In the military and police and that sort of thing, the medal is the honor of having the medal. In security, everything is backed by money or perks, vacation time, something tangible, something that's going to be of benefit financially, because again, it's a business. But at the same time, there is recognition, there is a sort of a respect and a bragging rights kind of thing. So there's that and the money. But a colonel is not going to go to some random post just to ask, how's it going? They're either going to go there perhaps for a commendation of some sort, but more than likely for a disciplinary issue. Colonels are very, very rare. But the two companies I work for, which were pretty large in South Florida, had colonels. Colonels would also go to the property manager, kind of smooth over maybe a situation that maybe saw the post captain against the company or the post captain against the property. Sometimes security cannot make the customer happy, because sometimes what the customer wants maybe isn't legal or isn't ethical. Sometimes the security company has to butt heads with the property manager, which happens a lot, to do what the property owner wants, but creates a sort of a situation, a sort of a standoff between the property manager, which is the one that would usually sign off on the security contract, whereas the owner is the one that employs the property manager, but not necessarily sometimes directly works with security or maintenance or landscaping and that sort of thing. So you kind of have a situation where the colonel comes in and their rank shows the property manager that the company really cares about the property manager's opinion and wants to sort of smooth out whatever issue there is. So they're sending a very high-ranking officer who, by the way, again, we go back to the money, is being paid a very high salary and whose time is very valuable to the company. They're sending that person just to meet with the property manager, so the property manager feels that they are being respected and that their opinion matters, even though ultimately it's the property owner's opinion the security company wants to have, because they're ultimately the ones that have the money. It's a whole bunch of politics, but again, it does serve a purpose. Now, only one security company that I know of has a general, a brigadier general, which in military police terms is a one-star general. And that looks kind of goofy, honestly. This particular company I'm not going to mention, but it was what they called a field marshal, which is a British term, a German term. A lot of countries have field marshals. This guy had a baton and he traveled around in a Jeep, and it looked a little stupid, honestly. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say what company it was. But the idea of there being well, he wasn't a general. He had the rank of field marshal. And then I think something happened where they didn't like that rank. I think there was an issue with the baton. He had like this, I don't know. So what they did is they rebranded him as a brigadier general. But I'm not here to judge, folks. Is it a little weird to have a brigadier general in the world of security? Yes. He used to like to ride around in a Jeep. He used to like to stand up on the Jeep. He used to like to have early morning formations with the bugle and all that stuff. You had to salute him all the time. It was really weird. He had a really nice office at the main office. He had a wall of pictures, decorations, awards. Whatever. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to tell you I loved working in security. I want to hear about your work in security. I want to hear about your post assignments, your rising in rank, if the ranks brought money and incentive. I want to hear about these things. And guys, even though there was a little bit of humor here and there in the video, you got to do that to keep things interesting. But if you want to get into the world of private security, you're good with martial arts, you're good with learning new things, staying on top of the latest technology, like I said, you can write your own ticket. You could be a post captain at a luxury property where the cheapest house is $5 million, you're going to make bank. As long as the client's happy and the company's happy, you can write your own ticket. And if you're any kind of a leader, you're going to share the wealth with those that work for you. Remember, folks, turnover is not good when everything is hunky-dory. And one last thing, a boring day in security is a great day.